BBQ Black Tiger Shrimp. Black tiger shrimp can grow to 33 centimeters, large enough to grill like a small lobster. Named for the dramatic dark stripes across their shell, they dominated global seafood markets in the 1980s and 1990s before smaller farmed species overtook them in production volume. Wild black tigers from the Indo-Pacific still command premium prices because the flavor of a wild-caught tiger shrimp on a BBQ is incomparable to anything farmed. The shell chars and crisps, while the meat inside stays just cooked, sweet and smoky. The most dramatic shrimp in any fish market produces the most dramatic result over open flame. Ebi Fry. Ebi Fry is Japan's definitive fried shrimp, and it is technically superior to every Western version. The kuruma prawn used is stretched straight by scoring the underside before breading, which prevents the characteristic curl that makes Western fried shrimp cook unevenly. Panko breadcrumbs, coarser and drier than Western breadcrumbs, absorb less oil and produce a lighter crust that stays crispy longer. Japanese convenience stores sell Ebi Fry onigiri. Japanese school cafeterias serve it weekly. A single fried shrimp became so embedded in Japanese food culture that it appears in children's lunchboxes and Michelin-starred restaurants simultaneously. Gambas al Ajillo. Gambas al Ajillo takes 4 minutes to make and has been on Spanish tapas menus for over a century without changing. Raw king prawns dropped into a clay dish of smoking olive oil, loaded with sliced garlic and dried chili, served still sizzling at the table with bread to absorb the oil. The sizzle when the prawns hit the oil is deliberate. Spanish restaurants time the dish so it arrives at the table still making noise. The sound is part of the experience. A 4-ingredient dish that has never been improved upon in 100 years is either perfect or the Spanish stopped trying. Both explanations are correct. Glass shrimp dumpling. The hargao dumpling is the benchmark of any dim sum restaurant. If the hargao is good, the kitchen's good. If it is not, leave. The wrapper must be translucent enough to see the shrimp inside, thin enough to be delicate, and strong enough not to tear when picked up with chopsticks. Glass shrimp, almost completely transparent, placed inside a translucent rice starch wrapper, create a dish that is visually unlike anything else in any cuisine. Hong Kong dim sum masters spend years perfecting the wrapper alone. A dumpling whose quality is judged entirely by what you can see through it before you eat it. Shrimp Carpaccio. Carpaccio was invented in 1950 at Harry's Bar in Venice by Giuseppe Cipriani, who sliced raw beef paper thin for a countess whose doctor had forbidden her cooked meat. The dish was named after the Renaissance painter Vittore Carpaccio, whose red and white paintings matched the color of the raw beef. Seafood Carpaccio followed decades later when chefs discovered that raw shrimp sliced thin and dressed with citrus, olive oil, and sea salt needed nothing else. Argentine red shrimp and langoustines are the preferred varieties because their natural sweetness requires no heat to be extraordinary. The best Carpaccio is the one that tastes most like the ocean it came from. Grilled langoustine. Langoustines are not shrimp. They are Nephrops norvegicus, a small lobster caught in the cold waters of the North Atlantic from Norway to the Mediterranean. Their meat is sweeter and more delicate than any true shrimp. Scotland catches more langoustines than any other country and exports most of them to France and Spain, where restaurants charge prices that Scottish fishermen find bewildering. The most expensive item on most Mediterranean seafood menus is grilled simply over charcoal with butter and lemon. The shell chars. The meat inside stays just barely cooked. The most luxurious crustacean in European fine dining requires the least preparation of anything in the kitchen. Red Shrimp Tartare. Argentine red shrimp arrive at markets looking already cooked. The shell is deep crimson before any heat is applied. The color comes from astaxanthin, the same pigment that makes flamingos pink and salmon orange. Caught wild in the South Atlantic at depths of up to 400 meters, they are consistently ranked among the sweetest shrimp in the world because of the cold, clean water they inhabit. Served raw as tartare with lemon, olive oil, and sea salt, the natural sweetness requires nothing added. Every chef who has cooked with Argentine red shrimp has the same reaction. The best thing you can do with them is almost nothing. Mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp is not a shrimp. It is a stomatopod that has existed for 400 million years. It can strike prey at 23 meters per second with the force of a bullet, fast enough to boil water through cavitation. Aquarium owners keep them in specially reinforced tanks because they break glass. In Vietnamese and Chinese coastal cooking, mantis shrimp are deep-fried whole in salt and pepper seasoning, shell and all. The shell crisps completely. The claws become crackers. A creature that can punch through aquarium glass becomes the most dramatic item on a dim sum cart. The most violent animal in the ocean is also delicious. Shrimp cocktail. Shrimp cocktail is a masterclass in American mid-century elegance. Perfected in the legendary steakhouses of Las Vegas and New York, this dish relies entirely on temperature and sharp contrast. Large shrimp are gently poached, then plunged into an ice bath to lock in a firm, crisp bite. Served over crushed ice, their cold sweetness is aggressively cut by a fiery cocktail sauce loaded with horseradish and Worcestershire. Cajun Shrimp Boil. Cajun Shrimp Boil is the definitive celebration of backyard American food culture, born in the bayous of Louisiana. It is less of a recipe and more of a social ritual, where fresh Gulf shrimp are dumped into a massive, roaring pot of water, heavily stained with spicy Old Bay or Zatarain seasoning. Along with the seafood, chunks of sweet corn, smoky andouille sausage, and baby potatoes absorb the fiery, aromatic broth. Drained and piled straight onto newspaper-covered tables, the shrimp are peeled by hand while steaming hot. It is a messy, communal explosion of salt, smoke, and cayenne pepper. Shrimp Scampi is the ultimate Italian-American adaptation born from immigration. When Italian cooks arrived in the United States, they couldn't find the small, sweet Mediterranean langoustines traditionally called scampi, so they substituted them with plump American white shrimp while preserving their garlic butter method. The technique requires intense speed. Shrimp are flash-seared in an emulsion of melted butter, olive oil, minced garlic, white wine, and fresh lemon juice. The heat must pink the shrimp without overcooking them, keeping them snap tender. It remains a dual icon of American comfort food, equally at home tossed with linguine or served with crusty bread. Coconut shrimp. Coconut shrimp became an American restaurant staple in the 1980s when Caribbean-influenced cuisine entered the mainstream casual dining market. Shrimp coated in shredded coconut and fried produces a sweetness that contrasts with the natural brininess of the seafood in a way that no other coating achieves. Red Lobster put it on their national menu, and it became one of their most ordered appetizers. The pineapple dipping sauce served alongside is not optional. It is the entire flavor completion of the dish. A Caribbean coastal technique packaged for American chain restaurants became a permanent fixture on casual dining menus across the country. New Orleans Shrimp Po' Boy. The po' boy was invented in 1929 by Clovis and Benjamin Martin, New Orleans restaurant owners who fed striking streetcar workers for free during a labor dispute. When a striker walked in, workers reportedly said, "Here comes another poor boy," and the name stuck. The bread is French bread baked specifically for New Orleans humidity, producing a crisp exterior and a cotton-soft interior that no other bread replicates. The shrimp version packs fried Gulf shrimp into the full length of the loaf with lettuce, tomato, pickles, and remoulade. Dressed means everything on it. Undressed means you made a mistake.